Only moments after the end of the second year final exam, we return to the classroom. Due to the results, they'll likely be promoted to Class A, however it did come at the cost of Meizono being expelled. At their teacher's suggestion, Horikita takes the podium to explain the exam rules from their representative's perspective. It doesn't take long before the topic switches to Meizono, causing Ayanokoji to walk forward. With a bow and an apology, he explains that Ichinose was unbeatable in this exam, so his only chance at victory was to break her mind by making Ichinose an accomplice in Meizono's expulsion. The class silently listens, until Harada exclaims it wasn't okay for Ayanokoji to make that decision himself. In response, Ayanokoji deems Meizono a traitor who leaked their class's plan, and it's quickly accepted once it's revealed she was dating Hashimoto. Even so, Sudo still thinks Ayanokoji could have found another way to win, but Horikita reinforces the idea that Ichinose was simply too strong. Azuma points out that Ayanokoji has been behind all 3 of their class's expulsions, but Kushida cuts in reminding everyone she was the reason Sakura got expelled, and Yamauchi brought it upon himself. It's not that Ayanokoji is expelling people, it's that he's simply taking on the executioner role when the class needs it. Suddenly, Koenji gets up exiting the room for a date, which brings this discussion to an end. So as things stand, upon entering year 3, the class rankings are as follows. However, Sakayanagi voluntarily dropping out will surely penalize her class. Upon leaving the classroom, Ayanokoji is ambushed in the hallway. You see, Kushida's confident that Ayanokoji could have beaten Ichinose without expelling Meizono, and accuses him of just wanting to eliminate the traitor. Of course, he denies it and brings up his surprise at having Kushida defend him in front of the class. Apparently, she did that to make herself look useful, as it's hard to predict what will happen since Ayanokoji is in control. Elsewhere, Ichinose is apologizing for her failure, as the majority of her classmates try cheering her up. Frustrated with this reaction, Himeno looks to Kanzaki, however he's still lost in despair. Shibata stands up proclaiming their class will definitely catch back up next year. Slamming her hands on the desk, Hoshinomiya shouts they're all abnormal. Don't worry, they'll work harder in the future, but Hoshinomiya exclaims it's time to shut up and accept reality. Upon being approached, Ichinose mutters she can't lead this class anymore. But Hoshinomiya simply says they just need to rely on their teacher, so take plenty of time to fix yourself. Though from this day onward, Ichinose became sick and locks herself away in her dorm. With spring break in full swing, Ryun wakes up early to meet with a certain girl. Sakayanagi thanks him for giving her a few extra days, before asking why they're here. After a lengthy pause, Ryun declares he isn't satisfied with their match, and even calls it bullshit since Ayanokoji interfered. She reveals the hidden message, that Ayanokoji wishes to battle against him, not her. Unexpectedly, Ryun states she's more worthy than him to battle Ayanokoji, and that he regrets telling her about that hidden message. If he didn't, then he would have lost the exam, but Ryun believes he could have used his traitor to possibly win. Sweetly, Sakayanagi says Ryun can't win with his current mindset, as Ayanokoji selfishly does whatever it takes to achieve his goals. You know, she could beg him to let her stay, but instead Sakayanagi gives him one final piece of advice. It's impossible for Ryun to beat Ayanokoji by himself. If that's true, then what should he do? Sakayanagi urges him to be more flexible, as she will create a weakness in Ayanokoji. With Ryun struggling to hold in his thoughts, Sakayanagi warns him to never give up. With their conversation ending, Ryun asks what she'll do now. First off, she's going to pay a visit to Kamuro. So for now, Ryun should try not to get expelled, that way they can meet again in the future. Watching her leave, Ryun is left alone with his thoughts, realizing it's now a one-on-one, him versus Ayanokoji. Hold up, what did Sakayanagi mean by don't get expelled until we meet again? With the former Class A losing its leader, Ayanokoji is curious how they're handling it. Yamamura, however, is late to their meeting, but upon calling, a second voice cuts in, rudely hanging up the phone. Walking around back, he finds Morishita angrily crawling on the ground observing insects. It's 30 minutes past their scheduled meeting, when Morishita finally stands up, ready to discuss Sakayanagi. Without their leader, Class A is doomed, though Morishita recognizes it's their own fault for relying too heavily on a single person. At the moment, they don't have a concrete plan. Yamamura is ready to give up, while Morishita thinks they should switch to a strategy of collecting private points, especially since the penalty for Sakayanagi dropping out is minus 300 class points. Sometime later, Ayanokoji runs into some classmates outside the mall. The topic of Sakayanagi dropping out has become common knowledge, and rumor has it Kito and Ryun almost got into a fight. Michan steps away to take a phone call, and Onodera mentions that Sudo has been praising Ayanokoji's abilities. Matsushita's glad he's being recognized, and that Ayanokoji is finally using his abilities to help the class. Inside the cafe, Hoshinomiya complains he's late, He invited her here to discuss the final exam, and she states it was brutal for him to take advantage of Ichinose's feelings like that. Admitting to doing whatever it takes to win, he points out Hoshinomiya is the same in that regard. It doesn't matter because her class already lost due to Ayanokoji refusing to cooperate with her. That's just because her proposal caught him off guard, and after thinking about it, he's now willing to work with her. Wow, he'd really betray his class just to sleep with her? Actually, Ayanokoji isn't interested in that. He's currently focused on private points and wants her help setting something up. Oh, that's too bad, as she's not interested in giving Ayanokoji a second chance. Well, her class is doomed to lose then, but Hoshinomiya believes she has ways to catch up. Upon accusing her of planning to break the rules, he's told she'll do whatever it takes to become Class A. With that, Hoshinomiya is done with this conversation, but Ayanokoji thinks she should turn around first, just as the other three teachers arrive. You see, earlier, just after talking with Michan, Ayanokoji met with Chabashira, Mashima, and Sakagami. Without holding anything back, Ayanokoji repeats the entire conversation he had with Hoshinomiya-sensei before the final exam. Chabashira and Mashima want to deal with this quietly, however Sakagami is much more inclined to report this to the school. That is, if Ayanokoji is telling the truth. Expecting this suspicion, Ayanokoji has already scheduled a meeting with Hoshinomiya and wants them to listen in via a phone call. The good-natured Mashima is against this idea, however Sakagami and Chabashira think it's the perfect plan. In order to ensure privacy, our group moves to Mashima's dorm. Hoshinomiya tries to play dumb even though all three teachers heard the truth. Chabashira pleads, asking her not to break any rules, causing Hoshinomiya to drop the act, declaring she refuses to allow Chabashira to finish in Class A, revealing the fact this all has to do with Hoshinomiya's grudge as a former classmate. Sakagami reminds her that breaking rules could get her fired, though she's happy to accept any consequences for her actions. Maybe it's best if they give Hoshinomiya some time to think, even though she swears her mind won't change. Ayanokoji promises that he'll change Hoshinomiya's mind by the end of spring break, though he doesn't explain what he's planning. The day arrives for Ayanokoji's promised movie date with Kei, and it's also the day he will be saying goodbye. This event was planned more than a year ago, and he's curious to see if she's become strong enough to stand on her own. At the moment, he doesn't think the breakup will bother him, but honestly, he's hoping to feel some sort of way. His girlfriend excitedly greets him at the theater, before they briefly discuss Meizono's expulsion. Kei believes Ayanokoji wanted Meizono expelled, as she's confident he could have beaten Ichinose another way. However, expelling Meizono helps to keep his true abilities hidden, and it surely upped the odds that Ayanokoji would win. He's genuinely impressed with how close her answer was to the truth, and our happy couple enters the movie, where they're seated next to an annoyed Ibuki. After that, they head to karaoke, where Kei is genuinely happy and wishes this could last forever. However, deep down, she knows what's coming. Her heartbeat begins to race, as she feels regret just thinking about having to say goodbye. It's at this moment she realizes she truly loves Ayanokoji, followed by him saying they should break up. Muttering that she knew this was coming, Kei thinks about the fact that Ayanokoji never loved her. Everything he does is to benefit himself, and even though she wants to beg him to stay, she holds it in since he doesn't want that. As a means to preserve her reputation, Ayanokoji offers to tell everyone she dumped him, but Kei really doesn't want this to end, just as Ayanokoji says,
"Goodbye, Karuizawa."
The moment he's gone, Karuizawa collapses to the floor crying, believing herself the only person who can truly understand Ayanokoji's emotions. She just hopes she did a good job acting strong in front of him. Today is Sakayanagi's final day at school, and she's asked Ayanokoji to see her off. Upon arrival, he's greeted by Chairman Sakayanagi, who mentions Ayanokoji's upcoming parent-teacher meeting with his father. Actually, there was one thing the chairman wanted Ayanokoji to talk to Arisu about. She's very curious what her father could mean. Separating themselves from the group, Sakayanagi asks if Ayanokoji feels guilty about interfering. Nope, not at all. He simply states she was too strong compared to the others. Plus, to be fair, it was her own choice to lose. That being said, she's still owed 2 favors, and thinks the first should be a passionate kiss. That was just a joke, but she'd like to confirm that Ayanokoji's role for her isn't over yet. Glancing at the chairman, Ayanokoji isn't sure, but sees this as potential groundwork for the future. One day, Sakayanagi wishes to battle Ayanokoji again, and thus comes to her first favor. She wants to see Ayanokoji again someday. It's simply not possible for him to promise that, but he will do his best to make it happen. Sakayanagi's second favor is for Ayanokoji to judge Hashimoto's actions, and he does promise to handle that one. Following this, Ayanokoji opens up his phone to a photo of her on his bed and proceeds to delete it. Realizing Ayanokoji must have broken up with Kei, she regrets not using her first favor for a kiss and extends her arms asking for a bonus. With one final embrace, Ayanokoji bids farewell to Sakayanagi. Outside the dorm, Ayanokoji lies, claiming that Sakayanagi left him some advice to give to her class. Obviously, Morishita doesn't believe him, but is completely shocked upon hearing the details. Yamamura wants to follow Sakayanagi's advice, though Morishita still thinks Ayanokoji is lying. Even so, he openly reveals he just wants all classes to have an equal chance in the 3rd year. Recognizing this could be a trap, Morishita admits it's still their best option, just as a first-year girl named Nagishi interrupts, handing Ayanokoji an envelope before running away. The girls tease him, thinking it's a love letter, but Ayanokoji suspects it's from someone else. Maybe in a year's time, he will give that phone number a call. Skipping forward a bit, we get to the day of the parent-teacher meetings. The schedule has Ayanokoji placed just before Koenji, though he's still unsure why his father decided to attend. Finding Chabashira in the hallway, she once again asks for Ayanokoji's plan to deal with Hoshinomiya, and he once again refuses to explain. Mr. Ayanokoji then arrives, carrying the persona of a normal, loving father. They spend some time discussing Kiyotaka's general performance, before Chabashira recommends for Kiyotaka to further his education after high school. Mr. Ayanokoji wants to know his son's opinion, so Kiyotaka states he'd like to follow his senpais to university. Keeping up the act, Mr. Ayanokoji promises to support his son in whatever he chooses. Even with the formalities concluded, Mr. Ayanokoji continues asking questions, almost as if he's purposely drawing out the meeting. Eventually, he does walk away, so Chabashira encourages Ayanokoji to go speak with him. Kiyotaka declares he never once thought of this man as his father, though he has no intention of disobeying him after graduation. Dad thinks his son should eventually take charge of the White Room, but for the time being, Kiyotaka can do as he pleases. Prodding his father, Kiyotaka threatens to disobey in the future, but Dad reminds him the power of a single well-placed bullet. Next, the topic switches to Yagami, who is being re-educated, and we learn Amasawa will follow the same path once she graduates. We learn Kiyotaka sees them as younger siblings, and Dad proclaims the school has made Kiyotaka less robotic, which he sees as an improvement. Fed up with this man, Kiyotaka asks to leave, but is surprisingly praised for reaching Class A, causing him to reveal his plan to switch classes. Company President Koenji walks by, causing Mr. Ayanokoji to introduce himself and ask for a meeting. Immediately rejecting the proposal, Mr. Koenji pauses for a moment looking at Kiyotaka, before continuing on his way. Oh, so that's why his father came today, and we come to find out that Company President Koenji supports the opposing political party of Mr. Ayanokoji. Once Dad is gone, Koenji arrives, stating he's found Ayanokoji to be very suspicious lately. Wondering why Koenji cares all of a sudden, he's told that even flies need swatted away on occasion. All Ayanokoji wants is for every class to have a fighting chance, and Koenji doesn't mind as long as it stays between Dragon Boy and the little girl. Well, Ayanokoji can't promise that Mii-chan won't get caught in the crossfire, causing Koenji to ask if he really wants to battle him that badly. He admits that Ayanokoji is strong, but declares himself to be superior. Oh, does he have any proof? At the moment, Koenji doesn't feel like proving it, and explains that he tries to learn as little as needed in order to keep his thinking free and flexible. That way, he doesn't become rigid like Ayanokoji. Upon entering the room, Company President Koenji is greeted by his old friend, Prime Minister Kijima. They hear a commotion outside, followed by Mr. Ayanokoji forcing his entrance. Chairman Sakayanagi tries to turn him away, but Kijima actually welcomes this intrusion. After some lengthy political talk and multiple insults being thrown around, Mr. Ayanokoji is eventually asked to leave. However, next time they meet, Kijima would like to discuss Kiyotaka. Hearing another son praised gets Koenji's attention, causing Ayanokoji to reveal that Kiyotaka plans to switch classes, and thus will be directly competing against Koenji's son. If that's the case, then Mr. Koenji will send a message to his child. If his son can successfully graduate with his current class at Class A, then Mr. Koenji will grant his son's freedom. Ayanokoji then offers up a bet. If Kiyotaka wins, then Mr. Koenji must meet with him again in the future. Oh, but if Kiyotaka loses, then Mr. Ayanokoji must resign from politics. That part about resignation was a joke, and Mr. Koenji accepts the one-sided bet, followed by Prime Minister Kijima promising to oversee this wager. Upon receiving a text message, Ayanokoji heads to the mall to meet with Horikita. She's heard Kei dumped him, and is surprised that he doesn't look more depressed. Next, they discuss how the class is bummed out due to Meizono's expulsion, so Horikita wants to cheer them up by throwing a celebration party for their class promotion. The mood shifts again as Horikita asks if Ayanokoji is doing okay mentally, since he took on the burden of expelling Meizono and Sakura. Both of those instances only came about because Horikita wasn't strong enough. However, Ayanokoji reminds her that both times he made the choice himself. You see, she just really wants to support Ayanokoji, and he jokes, asking if she's applying to be his next girlfriend. On her way home, Horikita thinks back to that final comment. It's true, Ayanokoji is the only person she can talk so casually with, but her and him actually dating? That's just ridiculous. But then, why is her heart beating so fast for? Jumping back in time a bit to the day of the breakup, this was also the same day of Ayanokoji's promised meeting with Ichinose. Being well aware that she hasn't left her room since the exam, Ayanokoji sends her a message and tries calling, but doesn't get a response. Suddenly his phone rings, however it's Ishizaki. Ayanokoji arrives first and is joined by a confused Hiyori. A couple moments later, Ishizaki arrives, and after some friendly chit-chat, he once again invites Ayanokoji to join their class. Hiyori points out that Ayanokoji is already in Class A, but Ishizaki is confident Ryun will steal that position very soon. Ayanokoji agrees that as friends it'd be more fun, however it's just too risky to leave Class A. Not backing down, Ishizaki pulls Ayanokoji and Hiyori's hands together, saying he could date Hiyori if he switches. Ayanokoji reminds him that he's currently dating Karuizawa, but is told to dump her since Hiyori likes him anyway. Both victims tell Ishizaki to knock it off, and Ayanokoji physically forces him away. However, Hiyori's grip seems to tighten. Gently, she explains that she really would like him to join their class, and inwardly, Ayanokoji believes he would truly enjoy being with them, but he must decline in pursuit of his goal. That evening, Ayanokoji patiently waits for Ichinose, however the 8 p.m. curfew has arrived, meaning he can't go to her dorm. At 10 p.m., his message finally changes to red, however there's still no response. As a last-ditch effort, he exits his dorm, secretly heading to Ichinose's, and rings the doorbell saying he will wait 3 minutes. A moment later, he receives a message asking why he's here past curfew. Obviously, it's because of their promise, and is told the door is unlocked. Stepping inside, she tells him to speak, so Ayanokoji brings up her class's current situation. It doesn't look good, but he doesn't think it's hopeless, however they will need a new leader. At this point, she's lost all confidence in herself, and can tell what Ayanokoji is wanting. He offers to transfer to Ichinose's class, and she realizes this was his plan all along. That's true, however he would have been happy if Ichinose unexpectedly beat him in the final exam. There is, however, another condition for Ayanokoji's transfer, though she's already aware she'd need to leave school. She just can't understand why he would do this, and is told a senior once mentioned that he should become someone to remember. But can he really reach Class A? Yes, but he can't promise all 39 of her classmates will survive with him. So it's come time for Ichinose to make her choice. Will she choose to drop out, or rise up again and keep fighting? After mixing both love and hate into Ichinose, he's excited to see which option she chooses, though secretly, Ayanokoji hopes she finds a third unforeseen path. Boldly, she declares she is willing to sacrifice herself to achieve Class A, however she's not willing to sacrifice any classmates. That's deemed nothing more than a selfish ideal, but Ichinose believes that together, they can pull it off. After hearing her idea, Ayanokoji is shocked that she successfully found a third option. The only problem is the need for close communication, so can she set aside her hatred for this? Oh, Ichinose wants to hate Ayanokoji, however her love for him simply doesn't allow it. As her demeanor shifts from broken to confidence, Ayanokoji realizes he's fucked up. Everything about today has gone perfectly according to Ichinose's plan. She baited him here by not texting back, and purposely left the door unlocked anticipating his arrival. Ayanokoji unknowingly walked right into her trap. You know, it's past curfew, so it would be too risky for him to leave, and since he's already here, Ichinose will make him into an accomplice. Pushing him onto the bed, she proclaims to understand Kei better now. Ayanokoji purposely broke them both down in order to build them back up. Then you know, Ayanokoji used her as he pleased, so it's only fair that she uses him as well. Now, she hasn't forgiven him, but that won't stop Ichinose from forcing her way into his heart. The only downside is the sadness this will surely cause Kei Karuizawa, but she's told they just broke up actually. With a kiss, clothes begin to come off, as this unexpected situation teaches Ayanokoji that he still has a lot to learn. Receiving a message from their leader causes Kanzaki to set up a strategy meeting. The group debates if Ichinose will actually show up, followed by Shibata and Kanzaki arguing about whether or not their class is doomed. A familiar voice orders them to stop bickering, before apologizing for making them worry. Amikura is concerned that Ichinose might drop out of school, but is told she'd only do that if it guaranteed they graduate from Class A. For now, Ichinose has steeled her resolve and even reveals that Ayanokoji rescued her. Kanzaki exclaims that Ayanokoji is the enemy who defeated them in the first place, followed by Ichinose revealing her true feelings for Ayanokoji. Due to their class's situation, Kanzaki believes they need to switch strategies and focus on gathering private points, and even Ichinose can't deny that their previous efforts only ever caused them to fall behind. However, she boldly proclaims she still wants to reach Class A without anyone being expelled. Kanzaki blurts it's impossible. Understanding his perspective, she promises that if nothing changes by the end of spring break, then she will seriously consider Kanzaki's strategy. As the mood lightens, Kanzaki steps away, only for Ichinose to follow, asking if he has anything to tell her about the final exam. Attempting to play dumb, Ichinose calls him out for begging Horikita to let their class win. But that was the only path to victory, so basically Kanzaki didn't think she could beat Ayanokoji? In the future, Ichinose would strongly encourage Kanzaki to rely on her. And now left completely stunned, he thinks over her sweet words, but can't shake the feeling that this was meant to be a warning. With the exception of Koenji and Karuizawa, all of Class A gathers for a celebration. Sato is keeping her distance from Ayanokoji, which makes Horikita doubt whether or not Kei initiated the breakup. Horikita recognizes that she needs to continue growing, however Ayanokoji reminds her that life is too short to try and handle everything yourself. Now, near the end of the celebration, Ike brings up Meizono's expulsion, explaining it's made him realize the need to take life more seriously, as you never know what could happen. Off to the side, Ayanokoji asks Horikita about her goals, and we learn she just wants to believe in herself and the class. Naturally, she asks about Ayanokoji's goal, but he refuses to tell her. Huh? That's not fair! He steps closer, causing her to turn away blushing. Horikita declares that she wants to make Ayanokoji acknowledge her, and politely asks him to continue watching over her for the upcoming year. Turning back around, Ayanokoji is nowhere to be seen. Shortly after the opening ceremony, Hoshinomiya declares she won't allow Chabashira to finish in Class A. Feeling a bit of sadness that Ayanokoji couldn't change her, Chabashira asks if she's still planning to break the rules. Surprisingly, she promises not to, revealing that Ayanokoji successfully persuaded her. To even be able to manipulate teachers, that boy has to be something akin to a joker. Surprised and curious, Chabashira asks what Ayanokoji did to change her, but Hoshinomiya instead mentions that her class would have a chance if the Joker joined her team. A faculty member rushes up to Chabashira, informing her that a student just transferred out of her class. Just now being informed of the situation, Mashima enters his classroom, allowing a moment for the transfer student to introduce himself.